Joining us live from Beijing to dig a little bit deeper into these numbers is Huo Deming. He's a professor at Peking University. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me ask you about this. The government says the economy is stabilized. From the data that you're seeing, is that a safe reading of all of this?
Yes, it's definitely yes. The economy is indeed stabilized, and the PMI, all the figures showing the trend is not dropping. And also we can see and almost tell that for the rest of the years, it's going to be very stable.
Professor, what about the manufacturing sector? What do you see there?
Okay, we'll have to distinguish the small and medium enterprises and the big ones, especially the SOE, state-owned enterprises. I would imagine that in the next 4 to 6 months, that SOEs will be growing bigger simply because they have more resources from the banking, from the financial markets.
And Professor, the government's trying to do something to help the small businesses. Last month, they suspended this value-added tax and turnover tax for some small businesses. Now, some analysts believe that the decision is expected to benefit more than 6 million small business companies and will also boost employment. But as you know, things don't happen overnight. The PMI reading at this stage shows that the big firms are staying above 50%. That's been for 12 straight months, but the smaller companies still staying below 50% for 17 consecutive months. When do you think these changes are going to start to see some impact on the smaller businesses?
Okay, especially on the tax reductions on the small, medium enterprises, I don't think that's going to take effect, if that's going to take effect at all, simply because the amount is too small. So I think the major impact on the small business would be a reform in the banking business. Instead of big enterprises going to the big banks, what China need to do is to liberalize the interest rate so that the small banks is able to facilitate themselves to the small medium enterprises. That's the only way to resolve the small medium enterprise dilemma. It's not the government tax reductions or anything like that.
So do you think that's likely that the government will step in and do that?
Oh, definitely. I think what the Leakage is, what they are trying to do is that they are going to, as far as I know, they're going to set up 3 to 5 private banks, purely private banks, and in conjunction with the interest rate liberalization, especially the deposit rate defreeze. And that would help all the banking system to have a new reform, especially a new perspective on loans to enterprises. I think that we'll have to see those structural change in the future.
Now, you talked about Premier Li, you're talking about loans, he's also talked about power consumption, railway transportation capacity. What are you seeing there? Okay,
you're referring to the Leakage index. I'm being serious. I'm not enthusiastic on the Leakage index simply because those were the indices that the Leakage used while he was the governor of Liaoning province. Well, Liaoning province, we all know, is a manufacturing province. For China, what we need to do now is to have the reform in terms of the service industries. So all the three numbers that you mentioned, they're not necessarily referring to the service industries. That's the most important things that China is developing, and the Leakage index is the things past.
All right, we've got about 20 seconds. What should we be looking for in the coming months, in your estimation?
All right. Well, certainly there are 2 things we should be looking for. One is this anti-corruption movement. So that's going to put a hold on the state-owned enterprises, their investment, and so on and so forth. And secondly, we need to look at what's going to happen in Shanghai, especially the free trade zone. That is going to be a major topic for the party meeting coming in November. Remember, that will probably lead to the capital decontrol and probably internationalization of renminbis and so on and so forth. So we should be looking forward to the November meeting, so to speak.
All right. Professor, thanks so much for joining us. Certainly appreciate your analysis.